Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Radio Show, only on Financial News and Talk. Now live in studio, your host, local and national real estate expert and consumer advocate, Ron Siegel.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion, delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots, the actions you can take, how your family or business can benefit from current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. And let me remind you, if you ever have any home or finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
While I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan, a plan to save you money, I personally work with you. Even if you don't have any needs today, save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And of course, we're celebrating today. Let's Forklift Safety Day. I shouldn't even talk about these things. Forklift safety. So once upon a time, in a land very far away, I did have a large warehouse, different business, different industry, and forklifts could be fun. Now, I wouldn't say that we ever had a forklift race. I wouldn't say that. I would never say that sometimes there was things that were too heavy on the forklift. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that, we put some stuff pretty high up in the rafters and on the racks. I wouldn't say that. And there might have been a truck or two that we went into that the floorboards were not the best in the world. I wouldn't say that either. But it was a long, long time ago. Forklift Safety Day. I highly encourage people to be very, very... In fact, my two oldest boys actually learned how to drive with forklifts. They were driving in our warehouse before they had driver's licenses. That tells you how long ago it was. It is a little bit different than driving a car, though, because it's the rear wheels that are turning, not the front wheels. So gotta get that under control. Let's see. National Call Your Doctor Day.
It is what it is.
Now, I don't know about this one. National Making Life Beautiful. Wonder if you have to call your doctor to help with that. That's a whole different type of discussion. We're not going to go there either. German Chocolate Cake Day. Now, I might have to call a friend of mine who makes a great German chocolate cake. But in the absence of her making a German chocolate cake for us, I would say that maybe it's, let's see, Rockwell's. They make a good German chocolate cake as well. Danny's with us this morning. Hey, Danny, good. No, I don't read Instagram chat, but I can see that Danny just sent me a message there. I get it from her directly. That's a whole different story. But Danny's listening. Glad to have you with us this morning. National Corn on the Cob Day. So, this is a fun one because I like corn on the cob. My mother, may she rest in peace, loved corn on the cob. And I don't know, that picture, Josh, it almost looks like the way they did those on the site, it almost looks like it's garlic bread or something. That's not corn on the cob. That's called a rumor. I like the big old corn. Now we had a client appreciation before COVID. And if you ever want to have some fun, here's what you do with corn on the cob. And Josh, we had a question of the day about corn on the cob, I think, and I forgot what it is, so I need your help on that one. What do you put on your corn on the cob? What do you put on your corn on the cob? And I've done a lot of different things on corn on the cob. I've done butter and salt. That's my favorite. What's yours? I've put on there blue cheese. You're not into that one, huh, Josh? How about this one? Peel back the husk, dip the corn into red wine, pull the husk back on there, and stick it on the barbecue. That's a good one. Parmesan tahini. I know some people like tahini on there. That's I'm not into the real spicy stuff. Tahini is makes it a little too spicy for me. Yes, I am a wimp, and I'm the first to admit it. But here's the fun. Now you can only do, Josh, you can't do this one unless you come back to SoCal for this one. So here's what you do. You go to the market and you get a case of corn. You leave it in the husks and you go to the beach. You create a bonfire, and I think it's down in down toward Mission Viejo. They have one of the beaches where you can do this. Create a bonfire. You put one of those big barrels, like you put beer in when you go to a ball game or a backyard barbecue or whatever. Fill that with water from the ocean. Put it over the bonfire, bring it up to a boil, and then put the corn in there. And you cook the corn in the natural salt water. Yes, it's clean because you've been boiling it. That makes some good corn. Then you take it out and you have all the dressings for your corn right there on the side. So National Corn Day. That's where we are today. Let's see what the markets are doing. Dow Jones Industrial Average down 251 points. S&P 500 is down 16. The Nasdaq's down 0.74. Oil up another 37 cents a barrel. And none of it means a darn thing because all the data that's coming out is going to be later in the week. Probably most of it's tomorrow. So we're going to get the CPI report tomorrow. We do have a 10-year Treasury auction today. It's not going to move the markets a lot, but CPI tomorrow could move the markets. And then at 11 o'clock our time tomorrow, we're going to be getting the results from the Federal Reserve. And they're not going to do anything. We already know that. If they were going to do something, they would have let their mole know. They've got a mole, Nick Timmeros. So why do I say there's a mole? Well, every Federal Reserve has this. And what do they do? What does that mean? Well, the Federal Reserve, right before they go into their meetings, I think it's 10 days before, they go into a quiet period. And none of the Federal Reserve members are allowed to do any public speaking during the quiet period. So if they want something to get out, or if they want to get the market, prepped for something, it's the mole that they go through. Nick Timmeros, Wall Street Journal, is their current mole. That's who they use for that. And if they were gonna lower interest rates, he would have already told us that. He did not tell us, so we know that rates are going to basically be staying right where they are. So, but what's going to be more important will be, what do they have to say after the statement in the meeting later on? Good luck on your final, Danny. I want to go get them. So what is the mole saying? What is he telling people? What are they doing? Well, the part of the problem is the markets are really not telling us the truth on so many areas that it's very, very frustrating. And I've shared this with you before. If you really want to get good data, you got to pay for it. It used to be that you could get good data and it was free. You could go to the news stations and whatnot and you'd get good data. Not anymore. It doesn't work that way anymore. So one of my sources, and I'll tell you who it is. You can go and subscribe to her stuff as well. Danielle DiMartino Booth, brilliant, brilliant individual, comes out and says that wholesale sales are declining. Recent data shows a significant drop, especially in machinery. Consumer spending is resilient, positive trends despite wholesale weakness. Inflation trends, imbalances in machinery sectors hinted potential deflation. Employment concerns, higher unemployment expectations among lower wage earners. What does that one mean? Because the government keeps telling us that the numbers are good. So here's what that means is those folks that are hourly workers are starting to realize that the market is not nearly as good as what they've been telling us. Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, the labor market has been in a challenge. We've been watching all of that for you. We've been telling you exactly where those challenges are. If you missed it, go and listen to our program from yesterday where I really went in detail with what's going on these numbers. Now, will the Federal Reserve look at the real numbers, or are they going to look at the BS numbers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics? We'll find out. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, saving strategies every first-time homebuyer needs to know. Rate and term refinance. What is it and how it works? Do we care? All that and more. Reach me anytime off air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Confused about the home buying process? Or curious how much you really know about buying a home? Take the First Home IQ quiz to test your understanding of buying a home. Created by the nonprofit First Home IQ, this 5-minute quiz will give you a score, what you missed, and why. Take the quiz in 5 minutes at rsrlinks.com/FHIQ and find out what you need to know about buying your first home. That's rsrlinks.com/FHIQ.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And every day at this time, OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. They do not tell us points paid, points received, or APR. They tell us the number do you need to put in your mortgage calculator. Don't have one? RonIsMyLender.com. RonIsMyLender.com. Put that number in the mortgage calculator, and it tells you exactly what your payments are going to be, principal and interest, for the period of time of that loan. Let's take a look and see what the numbers were yesterday. That's the latest data available. Conventional loans up 6.995. Jumbo loans up 7.215. FHA loans up 6.762. USDA loans, those were the only ones that were down, 6.667. Rural areas, generally no down payment. VA loans, those were up 6.498. So it was a green day on the markets yesterday, and all of them going in the wrong direction. If you are a fan of getting low interest rates, what's going on today? I'm glad you asked. We're going to find out what our numbers look like for today. The computer's moving quite slowly this morning. You always got to love when the computer goes slow for you, or maybe it's operator error. You never know. It's one or the other. S&P 500 is now down 14.83. The 10-year Treasury is down 1 basis point. Mortgage-backed securities are down 1 basis point. As I mentioned to you before, none of it really matters, simply because we're just on hold waiting for CPI and what the Federal Reserve has to say. Key numbers to watch in tomorrow's CPI report. Okay, if you're thinking about locking a loan, what is locking? I guess. Well, I'll tell you about that in a minute. Let's get into these numbers. What's driving them? So the May CPI reading to be is expected to be 0.3%, which would not make for much improvement on the year-over-year inflation reading. Some estimates are looking for it to remain at 3.6%, while others believe it could improve slightly to 3.5%. The two biggest components to look out for: shelter and motor vehicle insurance. If you remove these, year-over-year inflation is only increasing by 0.27%. Hello, Federal Reserve. So almost all the inflation is coming from those two areas. Shelter measures rent price increases and owner's equivalent rent, not home prices. Owner's equivalent rent measures how much you could rent a home for that you own, but it typically tracks extremely close to the rent increases. Shelter makes up 45% of the core inflation reading and is the biggest single component. The May 2023 shelter reading that will fall off at an annual calculation tomorrow is 0.54%. Pretty high replacement figure. Recent shelter numbers we've been seeing have been around 0.4%, but have started to moderate slowly in the last few months. If we see this finally start to catch up, or at least moderate further, we could see a little help from this area. Funny part of that is owner's equivalent rent. More often than not, most owners of homes don't know what their equivalent rent would be. So, and that's what that's part of the largest number of the CPI report. Motor vehicle insurance only makes up 3.6% of core inflation because it's gone up 23%. 23% year over year. Ow! Yeah. If you've gotten an auto insurance renewal, you know the pain that is there. It's adding about 25% of the year over year inflation we have been seeing. The replacement figure from last year will be falling off is a high 1.9%. If we see a number come in below that, we could see some help from this component as well. Bottom line, don't think tomorrow's CPI will hurt us. And if anything, there are reasons to believe it could come in beneath expectations. NFIB, Small Business Optimism Index, rose to 90.5 from 89.7 and remains near the lowest levels we have seen in over 10 years. Because small businesses are not as optimistic as they had been. Chief economist at NFIB expressed the pessimism among small business owners and said, for 29 consecutive months, small business owners have expressed historically low optimism, and their views about future business conditions are at the worst levels seen in 50 years. The job component with the NFIB report is near the lowest levels in 8 years when removing COVID and is another sign that the BLS is overstating small business job growth. Does that surprise?
Surprise, surprise.
Doesn't surprise anybody. Last Friday's report showed that through the birth-death model that they used, there were 231,000 job creations, mostly in small business, but ADP showed 10,000 jobs lost in the category. BLS clearly has a problem with their headline figures, but that's part of the headlines. We have no choice. That is the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. So I started to mention during that Mortgage Minute, locking in. What does locking in mean? And what do you need to know about it? So if you're getting a mortgage, your rate has to be locked in before you can close. You got to get a rate. And most people, that's what they focus on almost exclusively. What's the rate? They don't think about what's the program, what's the safety, what's the liquidity. Everything else we do in our investment world, we think about safety and liquidity and return. Except when we look at a mortgage, all we care about, what's the rate? I digress. The locking in is when you go to your lender and you say, okay, or they'd come to you and they say, okay, we think this is the best rate we're going to get throughout the life of the loan, or we're ready to close and we've got to lock it in right now. Locking in means that's what you're fixed in at that rate at that time for that program. It might be an adjustable rate loan, but it is locked in based on the criteria of the loan. Adjustable rate loans are going to have a margin, could be 2, 3, 4%, or anywhere in between. You might also be looking at a index. So you add the margin to the index. What's an index? Well, that's something that we can all watch. It's going to be shared in the Wall Street Journal, on Google, anywhere else. It could be prime rate. It could be the CMT, the 1-year Treasury. There's all different indices that they could be using. And then they put a rate on there, and they're all going to come out pretty much the same. The margin will bring it to where it should be. But locking in is setting that fixed number. Now, when you're in a day like today, unless you have to, you look and you say, what's the risk of locking? Well, if inflation comes in too hot, too high, then rates are going to jump up tomorrow. And that inflation number comes out about 5:30 in the morning, our time, well before the bond market and prices are set. So if you lock in today, you don't know what that information is. Could be good, might be too late. Similarly, you've got about 11 o'clock California time, 2 p.m. in the East, that the Federal Reserve is going to come out with their rates. What are they doing? They don't affect mortgage rates directly, but indirectly they do. And especially if you're looking at a adjustable rate mortgage, it'll have more of a direct effect, because some of the mortgages are going to be dealing with, or they're based off a index, like say if it's based off prime is a function of the Fed rate. So you look at that, and then it might have a more direct route. If you've got a home equity line of credit, most of those are driven by prime rate plus a margin. So the Federal Reserve will have more of an effect there. So locking in is a function of risk. If you want to wait, you're saying, okay, I think the rates might get better. I'm willing to accept the risk of them getting worse. So that's the function and the focus of where we might be on locking rates. And it's a science. You need to have somebody that's working for you, because I'm a big believer. In fact, I spoke to somebody just today, and they said, where are rates at, Ron? And I said, don't know, because it's more about program. What's the right program for somebody? Now, they might be looking at it. Nobody's ever talked to them about that, because all they ever hear about, especially for the last 10 or 15 years, is all we've talked about is a 30-year fixed rate loan. Why? Because there hasn't been much spread between the adjustable rate mortgages and the 30-year loan. But here's the issue. Generally, or on average, we keep our loans for about 5.2 years. That's how long we keep a loan in this country, a mortgage. Yet we're paying for a 30-year fixed rate loan. What does that mean? Well, the longer the loan, the higher the interest rate theoretically should be, because there's more what they call interest rate risk. The lender doesn't know if rates are going to go up or go down, so they've got a risk. If they lock a loan in for a fixed 30 years, well, what's inflation going to be? We know under some administrations, I don't want to get political right now, but we've seen inflation rates at 1%, 2%, 9%. In the 70s, we saw inflation double digits. So with all those things being said, that becomes a risk for the lender. If they lock in a loan at, say, 7.5% and interest rates go to 15%, well, they might be losing money. If they lock it in at 7.5% and interest rates go to 5%, well, the consumer is going to refinance, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. When we come back, saving strategies every first-time homebuyer needs to know. Rate and term refinance. What is it and how does it work? All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Hey there, friends. Wondering if now is the right time to buy a home? Or are you waiting for a bunch of foreclosures? The facts speak loud and clear. Defaults and foreclosures are down, sure. We might be headed towards a recession. But did you know interest rates typically drop and real estate values often go up during a recession? So what are you waiting for? Higher prices or higher payments? Don't navigate these waters alone. Connect with RonSiegelRadio.com today. That's RonSiegelRadio.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Saving strategies every first-time home buyer needs to know. If home ownership is on your goal sheet for the future, you're probably working on your savings. And a big priority is making sure you've got a plan in place for things like your closing costs, down payment, and more. Here are a few strategies that can help speed up that process. Budget and track your expenses. To start, create a detailed budget that tracks the money you've got coming in and the money going out. This will give you a better look at your finances as a whole. Cut down on unnecessary spending. Now that you have your budget sheet done and you know how you're spending your money, look for any line items that aren't absolutely essential. If you cut down on those, you can reallocate that cash toward buying a home. Even the little things can add up. As the National Association of Realtors says, that's NAR. Quote, the majority of first-time buyers did make financial sacrifices to purchase a home. For those who did, the most common sacrifices buyers reported were cutting spending on luxury goods, entertainment, and clothes, unquote. Automate your savings. Once you know how much you want to set aside for your home buying budget, look for ways to make it easy. If you have to transfer money manually, you may forget to do it, but getting some automatic transfers set up helps drive consistency and removes the temptation to spend it elsewhere. Realtor.com explains, quote, if you're struggling to put enough money away because of the constant temptations to blow your paycheck, consider automating the process. Ask your employer if you can have your paycheck deposited into multiple accounts. If so, instruct it to send a certain percentage of your salary directly into your savings account or go through your bank, unquote. Lean into any side hustles you have. Do you have a gig you do or have done before to get some extra cash? Taking on part-time work, freelance jobs, or picking up a side hustle can help give your savings a boost. Put any unexpected cash to good use. If you get any sudden windfalls, like a tax refund, bonus, inheritance, or cash gift from family, put it towards your house fund. By using these strategies and focusing on your savings over time, you can make sure you're well on the path to having what you need to buy your first home. Ramsey Solutions says, quote, budgeting shows your money who's in charge. That's you. It gives you the power to tell your money where to go instead of having to wonder where it went. It's how you make any money goal happen, like saving for a down payment, unquote. I agree with that completely with Ramsey. I'm not a big fan of Ramsey's solutions and a lot of things that they're talking about, but this happens to be one that I do like. Bottom line, if you need more strategies for getting ready to buy, give me a call at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Why do I say that I'm not a big fan of Ramsey solutions? Well, the bottom line on it is really quite simple. I'm a liability advisor. And not just because Ramsey doesn't like liabilities, doesn't want you to have liabilities. The issue is I look at that and say, you know something? There are good liabilities and there are bad liabilities. And I want you to understand the difference between the good ones and the bad ones. And if you don't understand the good ones and bad ones, how are you going to deal with them? So when Ramsey says, we want to have you get a 15-year mortgage with 20% down, well, that's high risk. And Ramsey doesn't talk about how high a risk that is because all he's focused on, or his primary focus, is that on reducing or getting rid of that debt very quickly. But what about the opportunity cost? if you're in Eastern Tennessee where Ramsey is, you might be buying a house for $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. When you're in Southern California, for the most part, you're paying $1 million. Do you know what the payment is on a $1 million home in or an $800,000 loan, even with a 15-year mortgage? How many people can afford that? Think of this. There's an easy rule of thumb for a 30-year mortgage. If you take your salary times 4, that's going to give you an easy way of understanding a comfortable mortgage. Now, can you qualify for more? Yes. But if you have a household gross income, so you and your spouse are each making $70,000 a year. Let's use 75 because the math is easy. You and your spouse are each making $75,000 a year. You got $150,000 gross income. That means you should be able to qualify for a $600,000 loan. Now, if you've got a $600,000 loan and you're paying that down, you're going to be spending quite a bit of money on that. Now, obvious, and that's fine. You're going to be wanting to spend money. You have to spend money. Most of us like to have a roof over their head. That's just it costs a little bit extra to live indoors. We've talked about that one in the past. But the bottom line here is we want to have grow wealth. Now, if you're not looking to grow wealth, why are you working? See, that's the question mark of the day right there. But the question, you want to look at these things and you say, okay, I understand, Ron, what you're talking about here, but can you really afford to get that high mortgage, that high payment? And that's what Ramsey's saying. Now, on the other flip side of that is, I'm trying to find, I know I've got a debt consolidation calculator on my screen here, just can't find it real quick. But the bottom line that I wanted to chat with you about on that scenario or that sum is, think about this. If you've got $600,000 or $800,000 in your house, and it feels real good that you don't have a mortgage payment, but let's say $800,000 at 8% return. Am I guaranteeing that? No. $64,000 a year. Now, if you and your spouse are both making 75 in your house and you can get your money to make another 64, what is that going to do for you? Is that going to help you out? I'm going to say that's going to help a whole lot. And that's one of the big issues that we're chatting about all the time with people is opportunity cost. Over time, over the life of that loan, $64,000 a year compounding is going to be in the millions by the time you're ready to retire. Is that going to give you a better retirement or not? Obviously, it's going to give you a better retirement. Having extra money helps. Now, one of the things as a liability advisor that our team does is we're always looking at the full budget. How much are you setting aside? I had a conversation with somebody over the weekend, and our discussion was, and this is something that very few people ever talk about, are you putting away too much money? You say, Ron, how can you put away too much money? Well, if you've got a lifestyle of, say, I don't know, $100,000 a year, $150,000 a year, $75,000 a year, combined household income, and you're putting away enough money that compounding over time and accounting for inflation is going to generate way more than those numbers. What are you giving up today? What are you not living with today in order to make that happen tomorrow? Think about that. Now, I found the calculator I was looking for. 15 years with a $800,000 loan, 7%, you're looking at $71.90 a month is going to be what your principal and interest payment is. Think about that, $71.90 a month. So based on what I just said, that's about $320,000 a year is your required income for that. Now, if you're looking at a 30-year mortgage, the interest rate is going to be a little bit higher on that, but you're looking at about $5,400 a month, almost $2,000 a month less in your monthly payment. So contemplate where those numbers are and see how they fit into your overall financial budget, your overall financial process, thought pattern. because liabilities have to be managed. Here's the issue. And again, we talk about this on a regular basis with our private clients, is we're looking at liabilities. You're planning on your retirement. And what do we use for retirement? Leftovers, right? It's after you've paid your mortgage or your rent, after you've paid your car payments, after you've paid your insurance payments, after you've paid all of your utilities and food and entertainment, whatever's left over, that's what you're talking about putting aside for retirement. We spend more time planning our next vacation than our retirement. So the focus here needs to be, where are you going from there? Are you planning properly? I have one person I'm consulting all the time. They spend $10 or $15 every single day at Starbucks. Every day. What do you think do you think that's a smart idea?
I got a bad feeling about this.
That's if you're doing that every day, now maybe it's just work days. That's $20,000 a year at Starbucks. Not a real smart move for most people. If you want to buy a house, if you want to buy a car, you want to go on vacation, you want to minimize some of those expenses. And as I mentioned in the prior segment, we were talking about, or in the real-time real estate segment, when we were talking about the idea of saving money for a down payment. Here's the issue. Before you ever start saving for a down payment, or wherever you are in your journey, call and talk to a liability advisor. Set a game plan, set a budget, know exactly what you need. More often than not, I will share this with you. I've been doing mortgages. The first one I helped with was in 1983. So goes back a long time. More often than not, people start saving to buy a house, saving for a mortgage, and they're already there. They're thinking they've got bad information. I gotta wait till I have 20% down payment. No, you don't. I think the last number I saw was like 6 or 8% was the average down payment. You don't need 20%. But I'll tell you this, in most instances, not all. You don't know what you don't know. So just going to give you that information. And as always, you're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, rate and term refinance. What is it? How does it work? You can reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
79% of all credit reports have errors that should be corrected through factual disputing. You could be saving thousands every year if your report was accurate. CreditSanitizer.com provides a free credit report audit when you furnish a specific $1 credit report. You can use this information to request corrections to your report and potentially save thousands of dollars. Get your free credit audit at CreditSanitizer.com. That's CreditSanitizer.com for a free credit report audit. CreditSanitizer.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. What do we have? Borrow Smart. Is that what we did? Let me try and find that. I just lost it. Borrow Smart segment brought to you by rsrdebtfree.com. RSR debt free. No? rsrnodebt.com. RSR no debt. Okay, rsrnodebt.com. I thought we were going the other way. Okay. I'm always mixing them up. Josh keeps us straight here. Rate and term refinance. What is it and how does it work? That's our subject today. So the bottom line is it's a financial planning tool. Rate and term refinance or non-cash out refinance refers to refinancing a mortgage into a new loan with a new interest rate. You'll also have different loan terms, such as the length of the loan and whether the rate is fixed or adjustable. In contrast to a cash out refinance. We've talked about the cash out many times. We also call that the debt consolidation refinance. So is there a reason to do a rate and term refinance right now? Well, it depends. It's always the answer is it depends. What are you looking to accomplish? Have you sat down with a liability advisor to find out about the program and are you changing programs? That would probably be the only reason you're going to do a rate and term refinance right now. The vast majority of people have a rate on their mortgage of under 4%. So a rate and term refinance, you're not changing the amount of the loan. You basically got to stay within the loan plus the costs. You're going to be doing it at current market rates. Current market rates are higher if you're just doing a 30-year for a 30-year, are going to be higher. Now, you may do it because you want a lower payment. But there again, it could be because you're being sold something that you don't need. So, if you've got a 4% or lower mortgage and you took this out in 2015, 2016, you might be saying, I paid a lot on this and maybe you just got a bonus. Maybe you sold an investment property. I want to put some money into this. Well, the bottom line is you can do that and then, not highly recommended, but you can do that and then ask the lender, or before you do it, ask your lender, if I put in a lump sum of money, will you give me a free recast? What is a recast? Basically, the lender looks and they say, okay, your payment that you're making right now is based on your original loan amount. You've paid off so much of the principal that if you were to go out and get a new loan, even at a higher rate, you're going to be having a significantly lower payment. So you can ask your existing lender or servicer, will they recast the loan? Which means they take a look at what the balance is, at what the rate is, what the term is, and they say, okay, based on all this data, well, maybe you can get a lower payment using the same loan. That's called a recast. Probably one of the only reasons why you'd want to get a rate and term refi, unless you've got a different program. What do you mean by a different program? Well, the different program that we're talking about right now has, and we've talked about this many, many times, is if you qualify, not everybody does, but if you qualify for the Home Select loan with our friends at Geneva Financial, that can be a reason that you want to be doing a new rate and term refinance. Because even though the interest rate could be the same, in fact, I'll promise you, the interest rate on a Home Select loan, in most instances right now, is going to be higher than what you're currently paying. You say, Ron, why would you want to get that then? Well, your mandatory payment, minimum payment, will be lower in most instances. Your payoff term will be lower in most instances. Your interest expense in most instances will be less. And if you use it strategically, your wealth will be significantly higher. So you tell me, which way do you want to go? Do you want to have a great interest rate? And I'll be the first to tell you, you can do absolutely nothing with a great interest rate. Your payment, that's it. Try and go out for dinner. Try and go on vacation. Try and go and buy a new car. Your great interest rate that you have on your mortgage gets you nowhere. Dollars is what gets you something. So if you've got a lot of liquidity, now I share this all the time. My personal belief, and I'm right, is that home equity is high risk. You can't get it if you need it. If you're really, really in need, you cannot get it. You cannot access it. Lenders don't lend money to people that need money. They lend money to people that want money. So you lose your job, you lose your revenue stream, you get hurt, health issues. Well, you're not going to get access to that equity unless you sell the property. Is that what you want to do? Well, if you plan ahead, and you should, well, then you don't have that problem. My big issue is, and I talk to retirees all the time, or people that are planning or thinking about retiring. Do you have your liabilities in order? Do you have access? You know, they'll go and they'll talk to their financial advisor. Say, do you think I can retire? Do you think I have enough money to retire? I know someone that's paying almost $500,000 a year in healthcare right now. How quickly do you think someone's retirement goes with that? Think about that. I hear about somebody almost, because we do a live radio show every day. So we talk and hear from a lot of folks. Almost every day I hear somebody new, unfortunately, that's being diagnosed with cancer. Right? Serious issues. Now, that happens. They're not working. Do you think they're going to be able to restructure their liabilities? No. But if they had reverse mortgage as a good product, the Home Select is even better. If you're qualified, it's a lot easier to qualify for a reverse mortgage than it is a Home Select. But the bottom line is you have access to your equity all the time, and that's what I'm getting at. So just be aware, Borrow Smart, brought to you by rsrnodebt.com, rsrnodebt.com. Let's see if we can give away some things. We haven't done this in a few days. Pay your credit card bills the right way for FICO scoring purposes always. rsrccpayment.com, rsrccpayment.com. Watch the video. 10 minutes could save you thousands of dollars the next time you want to get a loan. rsrccpayment.com. If you're thinking about buying a house, or waiting, renting versus waiting, rsrlinks.com/RVO. rsrlinks.com/RVO. Yes, I'm simple, man. Rent versus own, RVO. rsrlinks.com/RVO. And as always, we ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Big thanks to Josh and Sean for engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron